You're listening to Superpower Mommas on the Superpower Up podcast, the show that embraces the art of soulful parenting.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. You're listening to Superpower Mommas, and our topic today is spiritual renewal through space clearing. And we're speaking today with Amara Willey. And Amara Willey has been following a healing path for more than 25 years. She's received her massage therapy degree in 1997, and she trained as a medical intuitive and began studying cross-culture shamanism. She received her Reiki Masters to the level of attunement in 2007. Today, she combines her healing skills with nearly 2 decades as a professional organizer in the process she calls spiritual space clearing. And we're going to let Amara talk more about this as we go into our discussion. So I just want to say welcome, Amara. How are you?
Thank you. I'm well. How are you?
I'm well. I'm so excited to have you here. Talking about spiritual renewal through space clearing is certainly an interesting topic. And so I'm excited to find out more about what you're doing in the world. To begin, though, I'd like to ask you, we always ask this question, right? What is your superpower or your mama superpower? Because you're also a mom. You have a son, right?
I do. I have a 15-year-old son.
Uh-huh.
So I have a number of superpowers, and I guess my mama superpower is that I have the ability to make a meal out of random things in my house, pretty much any time. But I would say that probably my real superpower is my ability to hold energy and space for other people, to create an environment where people feel almost like I'm a battery, where I'm giving them energy so that they can accomplish what it is that they're trying to accomplish.
Wow, that's really great. How do you take this superpower? Wow, I love the idea of energy. So I grew up with an electrician for a father, and then my brother became an electrician. So energy for me has always been an interesting topic anyway. Right. And it's not so far off from the energy of electricity, right? That we have also an energetic space, we're energetic beings to begin with. So
Absolutely.
how do you use this superpower in the work that you do with families and other people? Tell us more about that.
Okay, well, I was actually just having this discussion in the car ride with my son yesterday about energy and how we are all energy. And, that can sometimes sound kind of like hoodoo or, woo-woo kind of stuff. But, we're all electrons and protons and neutrons spinning around inside our body. And pretty much everything around us that we can experience with our senses are, just kind of frozen energy that has taken a physical form. So what I think about energy, and this is kind of where the spiritual space clearing stuff comes in, is that we as energetic beings have an effect on the other physical objects that are in our environment, both our physical bodies and our homes are the stuff that we have around us on a regular basis. And as an organizer, what I find is that people will just keep cleaning up their stuff and their their physical space unless they can work on the sort of emotional, spiritual bodies that they have, the electricity and energy they have in their own bodies, and clean that up, because the physical surroundings, our bodies and our homes, are reflections of what's going on in our spirit. And that's, I guess, where the woohoo stuff comes in more. But I believe that our energy and our spirit kind of, manifests in our space in a way that makes us, whatever's going on inside of us, come out So if we're calm, peaceful, serene beings, our surroundings are calm, peaceful, and serene, and vice versa. And if there's a lot of chaos and emotion, and there's stuff, going on in our lives that's, dramatic or upsetting, then that tends to come out in our space as well.
And I love how you put that in order, because a lot of times we can look at the outside space and maybe be critical of that. Where is that really where the foundation is? With my clients, we always look to what's going on inside first. And that's what I hear you saying as well, that whatever's going inside is only reflected on the outside of, so by working with our own energy, our own beingness, and getting really comfortable with who we are makes such a difference. And that's where you were going with this too, I heard.
Right, absolutely. You've got it right, hitting the nail on the head. I think that physical illness and, when our bodies aren't satisfying us because we think we're too skinny or too fat or whatever that is, that's also a reflection of what goes on inside of us. And there's all kinds of studies about the placebo effect, that when people believe that they're doing something, taking a sugar pill or whatever, it heals them. I think it's the same sort of thing, that when we really address, adding more love is really what I would say, adding more love to ourselves and letting go of fear and letting go of anger, which is also fear, the better we are able to express ourselves in our bodies, our health, our healing, our happiness with our body image and our space, because we've sort of cleared up what's going on in our brains and our spirit.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, one affects the other. And isn't it true that in our culture we have been raised to actually look at things the other way around?
Right. And that creates a lot of blame, I think. It's like, what's wrong with you? Why is your house so messy? What's wrong with you? Why can't you lose the last 10 pounds? What's wrong with, and I don't think there's anything wrong with anybody, except that the more disassociated we are from our energy and our spirit and our connection to what I would call the divine, the more we feel bad, the more we blame ourselves, the more we let other people's criticism affect us, the more anger and fear we have, which is all what I would say separates us from each other, from loving ourselves, from the divine.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful. So we can see the connection then when we can really get comfortable with who we are and be able to, there goes, of course, things like forgiveness and, self-forgiveness mostly, and allowing ourselves to just know that we are whole and complete is a challenge for so many of us, but something that we begin to realize is very vital if we want to really have true peace and harmony in our lives, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And so you're doing that by creating space.
Right.
Which I would love to get more into. And that's what we're going to go into as soon as we take this break. But before we take the break, I would like for everyone to know where they can find you. So could you let everyone know?
Sure. So I have a website, is www.organizenj.com. That's ORGANIZENJ, like New Jersey.com. And I can be found on Instagram at Mind, Body, Spirit, Home, and on Facebook at Time to Get Organized.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you for listening. You're listening to Superpower Mommas. And the topic we've been discussing is spiritual renewal through space clearing. And we're going to get more into that when we come right back. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/thenet to learn more.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Superpower Mommas. We're talking with Amira and on the topic of spiritual renewal through space clearing. So from your profile here, we see that you have had quite a journey from one thing to another. What brought you to where you are now with space clearing, and how do you see that helping families today?
So that's a long question, I guess.
There is. You can break it up.
So
what brought you there?
So my journey, as I see professional organizing, helping people get organized as a healing path, just the same way I see Reiki and massage as healing modalities. I believe that as people find a way to make space for themselves in their lives, that is just an amazingly healing thing. And, my clients tell me how much lighter they feel and how much happier they feel and how much more peaceful they feel. So I think that all is part of this healing path. So yes, I've been on this journey for 25 years, but, I feel like they all go together. And how did I just started, noticing. I learn a lot from my clients, and I noticed that when we just, clean up and organize their stuff and don't address the more spiritual and emotional aspects of things, there's no maintenance. It's not sustainable. Like we'll clean something up and then a few weeks go by and then the same thing is exactly as messy as it was before. And that, there's the second law of thermodynamics is against us because there's all, that's about entropy and about how systems devolve. But I do believe that when we stop thinking of ourselves as disorganized and as messy and as we can't do it, then we start creating a space where there is beauty and order and peacefulness. And that's different for different people. Like I always tell my clients, there's a continuum. There's, you don't have to be organized like the Pottery Barn catalog. That's one end of the continuum of organization. The other end is you can find stuff within 5 minutes. There are people who don't want their houses to be perfectly neat, look like a museum. They want it to feel cozy and lived in, but being able to, move with ease through your house and have your house, serve your needs, that's kind of the goal, not organization in itself.
So here's my question. Our listeners are mostly mamas, right? Young mamas, maybe even older ones. How is this even possible? Right?
Right.
I want to know how you actually execute something like this for, say, a busy mom,
Sure. And, I certainly was there 14 years ago.
Exactly.
With my little baby who, never wanted to be put down ever.
Okay.
How do you keep your space organized when you don't have two hands and, if you have more than one child, it gets exponentially more chaotic. So how do you spend time or, find time to start keeping things in order?
Yeah.
And, I tell people about this thing that I call the magic 15. 15 minutes a day can make a huge difference in your life. There's 96 15-minute blocks in a waking day, and I would never suggest that anyone spend all 96 of them in in organizing, but if you can spend one 15-minute block a day trying to get and stay organized, that's like a manageable chunk. That could be part of a nap that your kids are taking, or that could be, when your partner comes home and they're holding the baby for a little while, or it could be, 15 minutes when your kid's at school or something like that, where you can just carve out a little bit of time and just take a baby step towards being more organized, towards, cleaning up one drawer, or cleaning off one surface, or spending some time, putting back things that have been taken out. And as we, take little steps and chip away at the larger picture, because most of the time when people have a lot of disorganization, it's taken a while to get there. It doesn't just happen over, with the snap of a finger. But it takes a little time for it to get back the way it was. But if you keep chipping away at it, it will eventually get there.
And so as you're talking, I'm hearing, of course, an excellent tool for, taking chunks of time and doing things that way. I know for me, that really helps, especially as working from home. The motivation is just kind of gets lax when you're feeling overwhelmed, and then you're not getting anything done in the meantime too. And raising 4 kids of my own, I did that, right? So you're talking here about the tangible part of the organization. What else do you teach? Because I know this is, taking a spiritual renewal path. What do you teach here that is the backbone to this 15-minute organization?
So I believe there's 3 pillars of Serenity. Prayer, which is talking to the divine. Meditation, which is listening to the divine. And affirmations, which are about communicating with yourself and learning a different way of speaking about yourself, because I really believe words have huge amounts of power, and the way that we use language can really change how we move through the world. So, for example, if you ever notice during the day, we will often say, I am something. And I know for myself, I will often say, I am tired. And I don't want to be tired. So I need to work on preventing myself from saying I am tired, and say things like, I'm full of energy. I have plenty of energy to get through the day. And I'm sure that resonates especially with young moms, because, it's hard when you've got little kids and you don't necessarily get enough sleep. But we are able to sort of create the reality we believe in by visualizing that reality and talking to ourselves about that reality. And those are some of the things. I'm not going to get into how to meditate and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, but I love that you brought this up about the words. We did in a little experiment in a little group meeting that I hold for moms in my local area, where we said words like tired, excited, and we tested how that felt in the body. And it's interesting how open and happy we feel when we're saying the words that actually encourage that, and how drained we feel when we say the opposite words, even if we're feeling a certain way, like going along. So words are powerful.
Absolutely.
And we can actually lift our energy through, like you said, the power of saying things that build us up.
Right. So if somebody wants to try that, to practice that, I encourage them to spend, just pay attention as they go through the day to how they're speaking about themselves, both in their head and out loud to other people. If somebody says, how are you? How do you answer? What is that? I've started saying, I am excellent, no matter what. And I found that I feel more excellent the more I say that, even if I'm only okay, I'm excellent. all of a sudden I start feeling a little bit more excellent.
I love that. I love that. So some would challenge, of course, well, is that being honest? Are we being honest? What would you say to that?
Is that being honest? Well, I mean, I think that we are always becoming something. Mm-hmm. So I like to think of it less that we are describing the space that we are in right now than that we are describing the space that we are moving into.
I love it.
Because where we are right now and how it points us towards where we are going.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can, you might notice that you're tired, but you're willing to feel excited. For some of us, maybe it's a step towards it, right?
Right. Well, just like you said, when you say those words, you start feeling those things.
Right.
Maybe only a little bit, but, I have a very strong connection to honesty, and I certainly would never tell anybody to lie to themselves, but I know that when I say I'm excellent, I feel a little excellent.
Yeah, that's really great. I love how you connect the words and your 3 pillars, that prayer and meditation, first the speaking part and then the listening part, as well as the affirmations. So really, really wonderful tools that you share with the world. It makes me curious, you've been busy doing your work, right? And I often like to focus attention, like I believe that there is a mommy movement, a mighty nation of moms who are looking to be more conscious in their parenting and in their own lives, their personal lives. And so when we look at, and like, how important do you see a woman's autonomy in her parenting? Here she's giving herself to her child, and her husband and, whatever other things that she's a part of. How is autonomy important to a woman?
Well, I really think that in order for anyone to pour out for someone else, they have to fill up their own well, their own pitcher first. They always say, you're on an airplane, you put on your own oxygen mask before you help your child. You have to be coming from a strong place to be able to help your children and your family stay in a strong place. If you're in a weak place, there's no place to go from there.
Right.
And we are, I think, raised as women to think, we need to help everybody else and it's selfish to help ourselves. But I think it's not selfish. I think it's self-full or something, that we are being a whole person is how we are teaching our families how to be whole people.
I love how you said self-full, because I actually was wondering if that was a word myself. I was putting it in a blog I was writing. How do you serve others if you cannot, if you don't fill your own bucket first? Yeah, it's true. It's so true. So I love that you brought that out. So taking that step further of the global, like, what do you see? What's a big picture of the work you're doing while you're busy in the homes of these people that you serve? What do you see as the big picture here?
Well, in a more kind of mystical way, I really see us at the beginning of the new age, of the age of Aquarius. And I believe that in the next 2,000 years that most of us won't be around for, there will be huge changes, just as there were in the age of Pisces that came before. So I think that right now, those of us who see ourselves as healers and changers of the world are preparing the way for some of this change to happen. Change I'm not going to see, and maybe my grandchildren aren't going to see, but, we're... I like the Native American way of looking at doing things based on 7 generations going forward. Whatever your actions are now affect 7 generations forward. So I feel like I'm some ways a midwife of the new age, of helping to create a different more peaceful way of moving forward, both through my parenting, because I've practiced connection and peaceful parenting with my son using nonviolent communication and some other tools. And I feel like I'm creating somebody who is more compassionate than I am, and I hope that he will create someone who is more compassionate than he is.
That's beautiful. And that's what I do see. You know, I come from a background where there was a lot more, violence that was acceptable, and it bothered me a lot. And so I look to have less of that. However, my hope is that my children and going forward, my grandchildren have that same viewpoint. And I just feel like we're each generation, we're taking a step in the direction that we really want to see it go, right? We all say we want peace, but achieving it is a journey.
Absolutely. And I'm excited when I meet other people like yourself who are, as I see it, on the healing path towards that creation, because there needs to be many, many healers to move us forward. There can't just be one or two. We are creating kind of a spider web over the planet of change and growth.
Yes.
And leadership.
Yes, and that's what I see about the mighty nation of moms. Mm. Beautiful, right? Because if each mom, whatever it is she's doing, whatever her passion is in the world, as she begins to really take care of herself and present herself in a conscious way that's with her children, in her family, in her work, wherever she is, and let go of some of the stories of what is supposed to or should be, and really embrace, what is, and go forward with what, she believes authentically in her soul, that it's going to make such a difference for the children.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really do believe we each are born on this planet with a purpose, and sometimes our earlier upbringing can kind of get in the way of understanding what that purpose is. And as we get older and mature, we might become a little clearer about that. And that might just be being a fantastic mom or a good friend or a, loving wife. And it might be something, bigger, right, that takes people into a leadership role. I love what the Dalai Lama said about women, that women are going to be the leaders that change the world.
Say that. Isn't that wonderful? And this is not in any way, by the way, to say anything against men or against young boys. I believe that bringing the unity of both genders is going to really be a beautiful thing. I always say the pendulum swings one way, then it swings another, but then the balance comes where everyone's united and fulfilling their own purposes.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
Yeah. So before we go, two things. First of all, please tell everyone where they can find you again.
Okay. So my website is www.organizenj.com, which is ORGANIZENJ, like the state New Jersey.com. I can be found on Facebook at Time to Get Organized, and I can be found on Instagram at Mind, Body, Spirit, Home, all one word.
I love it. Thank you so much, Amara. And before we leave, is there anything we haven't covered that you would like to say?
I guess just, as we're in this cold time of year, we're past the point where the nights are getting longer and now the days are getting longer. So I encourage everybody to keep paying attention to the light and let all that light inside of them.
Thank you, Amara. This is beautiful. We've been speaking with Amara Willey on the topic of spiritual renewal through space clearing. And I'm so grateful that you all joined us here in our discussion. I'm grateful to Amara for coming and being a guest here and sharing her beautiful wisdom with all of us So thank you, hon, for that. And mamas, as for you, I just want to remind you that you've really got this. Love yourself for the treasures that you are. Big things start really in our own hearts. So allow that to be nurtured. Find your superpowers and go out and be you and know that you are loved. All right. So have a great time till next time. Bye-bye.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and take the Superpower Quiz today.